Hello everybody and welcome to what is a very exciting video for me because today is my 30th birthday and for the first time in my life I feel like a proper adult, a real adult. I still don't dress like one, granted, but baby steps. Also, pretty much all of my birthday plans have been scuppered by the fact that the weather is not great. I plan to play golf all day today, badly, but I'm very much a fair weather golfer, so that's gone out the window. Instead, what I've decided to spend my day doing is editing some of the Greenland photos that I took a week or two ago. And while I was doing that, I came across one image which I think is really, really good at demonstrating what I think is one of the most underused tools, probably the most underused tool in Lightroom. Now, this video is sponsored by Lumix, and I got this image on my G9 and the 12-35, which I think is the best camera lens travel photography combination that I've ever used. And these two bits of kit together are probably responsible for, I don't know, 50 or 60% of my photos in the last year or so. And yeah, I really, really love them. So thanks Lumix for making a camera that can help me get images that I really, really like. Yeah, so what I thought I'd do in this video is go through one particular feature which I really, really love in Lightroom and will help make this image as I want it. When previously, I don't know, a year or so ago, maybe further back than that, I would have had to go into Photoshop to make this adjustment and it would have been a bit more of a pain. So, this image, quite hyper today because birthday, Right then, so here's the image, as I imagine you saw in the thumbnail, and I've probably shown it to you anyway by now. This isn't the raw file. The raw file is this. So what have I done to it since then? I've increased the exposure a little bit. I have upped the shadows, upped the whites, stuck the blacks down a little bit, increased the clarity a touch, same with the dehaze, same with the vibrance. I've added a really shallow S-curve and I've taken down the luminance of the blues. Outside of that, it's pretty much ready to go. Apart from, I would like to darken the sky a little bit. I'd like to bring the birds out. I'd like to make them more obvious because this image is all about the birds. I would have framed this photo completely differently if the birds weren't there. Now, I took this photo while I was with Ulanak and Kim. They were filming a TV show about ice sea fishing, and I was struggling to follow it, to be honest, because they weren't talking in English. So I kind of looked at this mountain, took a few shots, and then noticed all these seagulls coming across, and I absolutely loved it. So I snapped about 100 photos in about 30 seconds, and I decided this was the best one. Anyway, as I said, what I'd like to do is darken the sky, and I'd like to do that with the graduated filter. But the problem, of course, with doing that is that that makes a universal change. So for example, if I add a graduated filter here and I take down the exposure of the sky is affected, but also the exposure of the birds is affected. Now, there's no reason for the birds to appear darker here. It doesn't make any sense. So what I need to do is figure out a way to darken the sky, but not darken the birds. And previously, historically, this is where Photoshop would have come in, because I'd need to have found a way to selectively mask away the birds. And historically, Lightroom has not been particularly good at making selective changes. So that's when I would have jumped over into Photoshop. Now, there are some ways that I could be selective with the graduated filter in Lightroom. So for example, rather than adjust exposure, I could try and adjust clarity. But that would affect the birds too. That would make the birds have more clarity. Same with dehaze. Same with contrast. I mean, these all do broadly the right thing, but when you zoom in, the birds are just going to look really weird. Now, I could try and take down the shadows, but that's not having quite enough of an effect for me. So, again, as I said previously, this is where I would have had to hop in to Photoshop. But not anymore. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my graduated filter, which I haven't made any adjustments to yet, so it won't appear visible in any way, and I'm going to take down the exposure. Now, as you can see, again, it affects the birds too. The birds appear darker. But if I go to range mask, I can either select color or luminance here, because there is a difference in both the color and the luminance between the birds and the sky. They're both of different colors and different tones. I'm going to start with luminance because I think this probably works best in this example. But if I click show luminance mask, as you can see, the birds currently appear in the selection. The birds have gone a bit red. However, if I drag this slider just to the center to take some of the lighter tones out of the adjustment, as you can see, the birds are no longer selected. Then if I uncheck the mask, you can see that the birds now appear much brighter, as they should, against a darker sky. As I said, I could have used colour too. So if I just select a colour somewhere in the sky, say here, you'll notice that birds all of a sudden are no longer selected. And if I go and turn it off again, then the birds appear much darker. Now my preference in this example is probably luminance ever so slightly, but in truth, in this example, as I say, it doesn't particularly matter. They both work. There will be times when one works much better than the other, but this is a brilliant way to make selective adjustments when you're using a filter. And it's this alone that has taken my Photoshop use from probably 50 to 60% of my images, where I've had to open Photoshop to make additional changes that I couldn't make in Lightroom. It's gone from 50 to 60% maybe a year or two ago to probably between 5 and 10%. Just this one tool. It's really, really powerful and really, really useful. So there we have it, ladies and gentlemen, the range mask tool in Lightroom, which has saved me countless hours, I reckon, because I don't have to go into Photoshop now to make accurate selections. I can just use that. And as good as the auto mask tool in Lightroom sometimes is, a lot of the time it fails. So typically in the past I've just gone into Photoshop. Now I don't have to, and neither do you a lot of the time, I don't think. I really think more people could get much more use out of Lightroom if they use the range mask tool more to make their selections. Also, once again, quick thank you to Lumix for sponsoring this video and for making equipment that I love and that enables me to make images that I love and occasionally videos that I like too. I mean, if I don't like the videos, it's typically not the equipment that's failed me, it's me, as you'll all know if you've watched lots of my videos, but I love the gear. Anyway, I'm gonna go and sit on the sofa and wait for Emily to get home and hopefully bring me back some cake. I probably shouldn't get my hopes up, to be honest. I mean, she knows I'm excited about today, and she also knows that I haven't been out to play golf, thus not burning any calories. So she's probably thought about it and probably thought he doesn't need a cake. Anyway, hopefully that was useful. Thanks for watching. I'll see you later.